Hi folks, here we are again. How are you today? Does free content on the internet mean that the content is necessarily of bad quality? Do patents profit society, serve society? Is it possible for copyright owners, for artists to survive without the royalties? What do you think about the possibility of not having royalties? Would Rubens, for example, would have painted the famous paintings he has painted if he would not have a copyright on his own? Well, all these questions seem, I think, interesting, right? Are with me? Is IP still boring? Probably not anymore. The more you know, the better and the more interesting probably it becomes. It is with everything. It is like this, right? Now, this is one of the last video here of that series. You see my cap. When I make a last video on my own, I take a cap on. So the next two videos need contribution from your side. I can't do it on my own. So I need your questions with regard to the series, with regard to the counterfeiting industry, the IP extraction industry, or the ad industry, or the piracy. So I need your contribution with regard to some questions which has not been probably sufficiently spoken of, so I can do in the additional video. Or if you have concrete experiences with regard to the counterfeiting with regard to your business, then it would be probably worth sharing with others, so in order not to get into a messy situation with regard to IP. So this is all about these educational videos here. I have 25 years of experience in intellectual property, at least I would say, and this is a wealth of knowledge I have acquired. I want to pass it on to you, whether it's relevant, well, for business. I have other knowledge which is probably more for lawyers, but with regard to business, I want to pass it to you in order to build a bridge over possible traps which you may encounter in your way. Now, let's look at the possibility of copyright and without copyright, and let's look at the arguments. Here is no kind of good and bad and right and wrong. It is just about opinion piece, and more often than not, your ideological approach to life will determine where you go in the one way or the other way. The copyright justification, so to say, has been subject to a lot of books. So books have been written in favor, books have been written against copyright. Copyright is quite a complex IP right, as you know in the meantime. So it is the right of broadcasting, a right of of your image, a right of music, a right of books, of artwork, of, it is very complex, and it has some exceptions where you can use it for academia without paying royalties, etc. So it's a complex IP right? Now, it has been against and favor. Let's look at the arguments against. So I talked about Peter Paul Rubens, Michelangelo as well. Well, they have been paid in doing their work, but they never received some copyright royalties for their work. And more often than not, famous painters like Van Gogh, they died poorly, I would say, without having sold any of only some of their works. So they still produce. They still have produced, right? So there is one argument by saying, well, it does not serve the society, it serves only the rich and the good marketing societies who can exploit their royalties and look on the internet whether there's an infringement and look after their royalties in order to get being paid. There is another argument, and this argument has been raised during the, I told it before, the copyright directive, the adoption of the copyright directive, and it has been raised a long time ago. It is a political argument in the sense that the copyright is being used for censorship of the internet. Internet should be free content, right? That is what some say it is need to be, and the censorship, like gaffe, political gaffe, jokes, etc. They were deleted, or something from the Obama administration has been deleted for copyright content or alleged copyright content. So the critics here is that censorship is being operated on the basis of copyright. This is rather external of copyright, but it is being used, and there is some ease of use apparently. That's what they say with regard to the copyright. Now, another argument, it should be free content. So the internet is based on free content, is a libertarian view, and it is not clear why we have to pay for an image which is being copyright protected, whereas you can not pay for other content. And the additional argument here is that for copyright, all the distribution chain which was necessary in the past, so in order to make a book, you have to, it has to be written, it has to be printed, it has to be distributed, it has to be, all that cost for internet content is being erased, right? So you can do it in the internet. Once it is typed into the internet, into one page, you can distribute at zero cost all the rest. So has this possibility, has this technology, which is now possible for free distribution, has it been factored into copyright law? Question mark. Well, the copyright law is from, what is it, the Berne Convention, 1886 and so, and then 1994 there was an update for the World Trade Organization where TRIPS has been adopted, and the copyright, among others, and other IP rights have been adopted to be valid in the whole world, virtually. So 1886, that goes quite some time ago, right? So the world is moving much faster now, and this has to be, according to the critics of the copyright, that has to be translated into the copyright situation of today. And why would the free distribution not being discounted into the copyright industry of today? So these are more or less the arguments against the validity of copyright in the modern society. Now, in favor, there are the position that that the copyright benefits society. So if the artists get being paid, then the artists get the reward of his effort, and then it would be possible for society to get the product and do something on the product. With regard to the reward, the reward is being provided by copyright. So at the end, without these efforts of copyright, the society would not be the benefit of the work. The work would rather not be created. So there are counter arguments such as Linux and Mozilla Firefox, who have been created without royalty and the open society. So, and there are others who say, well, 70 years after death, that would be the copyright length. That is too long, and there might be other possibilities for artists to get being paid. They get reputation at a certain moment, reputation, and then they get sponsors, etc. So it must not be necessarily being paid through copyright. So there are other possibilities which go a bit in the middle to reform copyright, but still maintain a kind of copyright in the middle. Now let's look a bit to patents. That is another issue. We are living through a pandemic now, and there are some initiatives in order to make a waiver of the patent, of the US patent or European patent or whatever patent it is, in order to make the vaccine. So in order not to pay, to be subjected to pay the license fees. Now, you should know one thing. There is in the TRIPS agreement I mentioned before, there is a World Trade Organization agreement with intellectual property rights being valid all over the world. There is a waiver possibilities in precisely like the pandemic. Bolivia has raised the compulsory licenses, which is possible under this TRIPS agreement, but it is rather complex to being done, and still you have to pay for it. Now, the counter argument against patents is that it is very expensive. It is again only the pharmaceutical industries are benefiting from it, and whereas healthcare should be for everybody, we are equally human, so everybody should have the same possibility in order to get vaccinated, and this is not the case with regard to the actual situation, right? So the, so to say, poor countries, they say that vaccines are hoarded by the rich countries, and only by end of, I don't know, 2022, it will be possible to be vaccinated all over the world. Now the pros, and the system is rigged in the sense that the shareholder values of the companies is only being done when the margins are high. So the underdeveloped countries, they get not the vaccines for their, so to say, health diseases, and then it would be favor only the rich countries, and the diseases of the poor countries, so to say, will never be subject to science. Now, in favor, it is said that, well, there are, for vaccines, a big upfront investment is necessary by the pharmaceutical companies, and no guarantee whether a vaccine will come out or whether it will be paid off afterwards. The federal, so the approval by the instances is still in cognito, whether it can be done or not. And it is necessary to make a upfront investment. And then there are some critics on, in favor. Now, in favor, it is you need to make a reward in order so that the society can benefit afterwards. And the present example of the pandemic, of the vaccines, the quick evolution, the quick research that has been done in the ending in the production of the vaccines, that has been raised as a favorable argument. It would not have been possible without that. Now, you see more or less the picture. There are some humanitarian approach, libertarian approach. There are some so to say, conservative approach, or they say a business approach on it. Well, the one or the other, as I said, it is not that this one is right and that one is wrong. We don't know if we have not the patent, what would be the situation now? Would it be better or would it be worse? I don't know. We know the situation with patent, but the other situation is an incognito. What is important is a balanced approach. So, the favors those in favor of patents. They say we have a balanced approach. We have a benefit of society because after 20 years it will be not anymore patented, and the society can freely benefit from the invention, which was very costly in the beginning and has been done by one company only. So I leave it up to you. And I would like now to pass on to these two videos where I need your help, if you can. So thank you for tuning in and have a nice time.